Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I'm meadsy69 and welcome back to the channel. So we have more top 5 videos for you this week, and we're going to keep it simple. We're going to look at today we're going to look at the top 5 most underrated tanks in what blitz. That's my opinion. It's all my opinion. Everyone will have other opinions. So this is what I think to be the top 5 most underrated tanks in the game. And first up, we have the M445. Now, this is a tier 7 French tank, and it's been around for a while now, and I've never really got the hang of it. I've never really played it, but I come up against it a few times, and even though it has pretty much no armor, it is such a great tank. The rate of fire on this thing is absolutely amazing. 5.5 seconds on your reload. And it's an enjoyable tank. It really is an enjoyable tank. This game, we're going to watch Rose, and she's just going to show just how good this tank is. And I was actually going to... I've had this replay for quite a while, and I was actually going to use it as a review. But I thought, you know what, this game will just perfectly example just how well to play this tank, and just the reload. I mean, with adrenaline, 4.6 seconds. It's absolutely amazing. And this is a tank where people don't talk about it a lot. People don't talk about this tank a lot, and it's a good tank. It really is a good tank, and many people will say that this isn't a good tank, and people don't like it, and it's not a very popular tank. It isn't, and you rarely see them. You rarely see them in the game, but if you do own it, I mean, it's a tech tree tank, and today we're going to look at just tech tree tanks. So the top 5 underrated tech tree tanks, and then tomorrow we're going to look at the top 5 underrated premium tanks, and then moving on to the end of the week, we're going to look at overrated tanks, premium tanks, etc. So we're only going to look at sort of tier 6 and up, because we don't really want to look at tier 5. It's actually pointless. So Amx M4 45. There's a lot of these French tanks are actually really good, and you got the premium version of this, which is the M449 as well, which I was actually going to add in the premium version, but I thought, you know what, I've added this one. It's the M449 is very similar, except for it's a tier 8, and it's actually pretty stronger armor wise, but the rate of fire is not as good. So this game, Rose is on 4k damage, and she's now dealing with the T29, but you do have to be very careful when playing this tank, because as I've said, the armor is not the greatest. And big tanks, or not even just big tanks, but if tanks get to the side of you or the rear of you, then they will be able to HE quite easily, and you will get up. I've wrecked so many of these in smashes from the sides, and that's what you got to be careful of. And because you haven't got no armor. I mean, this game, Rose has only blocked that 200 damage there, so you're not going to block too many. Fair enough, this T43 isn't the smartest of players, backing up just to make the armor a lot easier to deal with, and the T43 hasn't managed to pen Rose like at all. So Rose is on her own, and she's now up to 5.2k damage. There's still 2 minutes left on the clock, and she already knows. She knows that she has won this game. So she's just going to poke forward. It's only going to take now 2 more shots, and this poor T43 just cannot pen. But well played to Rose. Mushy. 5.6k damage, 56,000 credits, 6 kills, and that is just how good this tank can actually be. And when I went back to play it, it is such an enjoyable tank. So if you haven't played it, go play it. You'll be quite shocked. Next up, we have the FV4202, and this, I absolutely love this tank. It's one of my favourites in tier 10, after the Leopard 1. This is probably my second favourite tank. People don't like it. I mean, Pantoof, he doesn't like it. I don't know why. I really don't know why. Now, you do have the option to use the Hesh gun, which I'm doing now. I mean, look at that. Side of an IS-7 with Hesh. No problem whatsoever. But people do tend to use the heat gun instead of the Hesh gun, because you do have this issue. You do have this issue when there is some occasions you can't pen. But other than that, it's a great tank. When you know how to use the Hesh, it is a fantastic tank. Next up, we have the Indian Panzer. And again, I've said this before when I've been reviewing this tank. This tank is just so underrated. It is an amazing tank when played right. Again, the armor is, I'm going to say the armor's not great, but this game you can see we bounced 1300 damage already. So we bounced more hit points than we've got. So you can bounce. And the bounces I actually made were from the T49. So they don't have the best penetration when using the heat. So the armor profile isn't the greatest. The rate of fire is really good, 5.3 seconds you can see, so you'll get that down below 4 seconds when using the adrenaline. The penetration's pretty good. The traverse, everything about the tank is actually pretty good, and you can actually get some troll bounces on the thing. The armor's not nothing special, but you can get troll bounces. And again, as I've said, the rate of fire is really good. The speed's pretty good as well. So you can really perform well in this tank when played right. And again, it's not a tank it's not a very popular tank, and it's not something that people go, you know what, I'm going to go and play the Indian Panzer. But for me, it is. I mean, I own a tank, and it is a tank where if I'm just playing tier 8, I could play this. There's a lot of tier 8s where you just, if you're playing for fun, you wouldn't pick. But this is a really, really good tank. But for me, I don't really see the point of playing it too much, because I do own the Mutz, which is a premium tank, so it does make more credits, and it's almost the exact same tank as this. But it is a great tank. If you don't own it, again, it's definitely worth grinding. Nice, easy ace there in the Indian Panzer. So next up, we have the T25AT. Now, again, I absolutely love this tank. It really is a good tank. It is a tier 7 tank destroyer, and it doesn't have a turret. But everything about this tank is just lovely. I mean, the accuracy there, you can see we're hitting these shots through the bridge, no problem whatsoever. The penetration's good, the damage is good, the DPM's good, the reload is really good. The armor profile is actually pretty good as well. Everything, it's such a strong tank, and again, it's not a popular tank. I do actually have a replay, which I'm probably going to put in a OP replay of nearly 6,000 damage in this tank. And by the time this video goes live, you might have already seen it. I'm not too sure when that will be released. But you can see, you can just absolutely farm. I mean, I haven't had to move. Look at that shot. You can do these kind of shots, no problem. I haven't had to move all game, and we've only been there for 2 minutes, but we've managed to farm nearly 2.5k damage. But we are starting to lose the tank, so I need to start doing some damage. So I'm just going to wait for this AT-15A, because that's a good target to get because of the rate of fire. Our Easy 8 over there has been destroyed, so we've got really no one to the left. So I'm just holding this left side, and 338 Alpha there, which now puts him down to a 1 shot. So I can just get that shot and clear the AT-15A. Now, I am going to head towards the left side, because I know that there is the KV-1S. That is a 1 shot there, and we are still losing. So it's a 4 versus 5, and I really need to take care of this this KV-1S, who was around this area somewhere. But we've still got plenty of hit points. We've got loads of hit points. Now, as I've said about the armor profile, the armor profile is really, really good. But as soon as people start switching to the gold promo, then yes, they can penetrate you quite easily. So don't expect too many bounces. But again, as I've said about the premium ammo in previous videos, I don't mind people shooting gold at me, because if they shoot gold at me, then they are drastically removing their DPM. They are lowering it really quite a lot actually. So people don't want to shoot Pramo. But if they do, then you're going to have better TPM. And it's not going to be often that you have to shoot Pramo in this thing because the penetration, as I've said, is really, really good. So that is the T25AT. Next up, we have the Charioteer. And we have the honour of watching Fizzy drive this tank. Now, back when this tank was first released, it was the most broke tank in the game. The reload, it was like 5 seconds or something like that. And it was basically an FV4202 gun that is a tier 8 on a tier 10 tank destroyer. The DPM was pretty much the same. And it was just absolutely broke. And I've actually got a replay on channel of someone doing 8,000 damage in that tank when it was completely OP. But when Wargaming decided to nerf it, I said on record that this tank is no longer going to be any good. And I didn't play it. I sold it, didn't play it after they nerfed it. And I didn't play it for a reason, because I wanted to remember the tank how it was, because it was such a fun tank to play. I didn't want to remember it any other way. But again, the thing with this tank, it still has the Hesh. It still has the Hesh. It still has the speed boost for a tank destroyer. You don't play it like a tank destroyer. You have to play it like a medium tank. And I mean, look at this. That's the tier 9 tank. The Hesh is really good. And as you know, just by saying about the FV4202, if you know how to use the Hesh, then you should probably be liking this tank. And I was very surprised when, I think it was actually Fizzy, told me the tank is actually still really, really good. So I went back to play it, and oh my god, it is. It is, even though there's an extra like 4 seconds added on the reload, it's still such a good tank. When you can come up at the side of tier 9 heavy tanks, and look at that, it's easy to pen. You can pen the tracks, you can pen the turret, 550 damage, no problem whatsoever. And that is why this tank is still amazing. If Wargaming lowered the Hesh on the thing, then yes, it would be a shit tank. But with the Hesh, it's amazing. And I still love this tank. So thank you, Fizzy, for showing me that Charioteer. And that is the top 5 most underrated tanks in the game, which is my opinion. Hope you enjoyed it, guys. I'll be back tomorrow for more, and I'll see you then. Bye-bye.